Um, nice. We have a great brew today. How are you doing, guys? Everyone in the chat. Let me see the Scotty GM, my friend. Dominic Bain, how are you, bro?
Doing fantastic, man. I ran out of Red Bulls, which is a problem.
That's an
But,
issue.
you know, it's all good.
Red Bull?
Yeah. I ran out of my Red Bulls, man. Sugar free.
You ever
I was
heard of
about
this
to
thing
say,
called
hope
coffee?
it's sugar free.
Never heard of coffee. You know, I did have a caramel ribbon crunch from Starbucks the
Oh.
other day.
God damn.
Yeah, that thing was crazy.
What is even that?
Give me a cavity
Dude,
just thinking about it.
It was like, I don't even know what it was, man. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't go to Starbucks. I literally went there and I said, "What can I get that's just for the basic bees, you know?" And then he was like, "Just get the caramel ribbon crunch," and I was like, "Send it, just give it to me." It was like caramel, coffee, whipped cream. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be going to the emergency room a couple days, but that's fine.
At least you don't do one every day.
Yeah,
It's not like the Red Bulls.
It's not like the Red Bulls, man.
I'm kind of curious, since I don't ask Gareth personal questions ever. Him and I have a very professional relationship. But since we're in the brew, I'm kind of curious. Gareth, are you a big coffee drinker? Do you do the caffeine?
I am not. I just go into the day absolutely nothing in my system, just
Dude,
taking it like a champ. Yeah.
just raw dogging life. Okay, yeah.
Some water is all you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, I wish I could be like that, honestly. I need my coffee. I need my brews.
It's about the ritual for me, you know, just like waking up. First thing you do is turn the coffee maker on, get that hot coffee. Then I go let the dog out. He goes out, he pees, and I pour him a little milk in his bowl. And then he comes back in and he drinks his milk, and I drink my coffee every morning.
Man,
The ritual.
that's the definition of happiness.
Life. That's life. That is life. But yeah, I think we can get started here. Welcome everyone to the Atlas Brew number 96, getting closer and closer to the number 100, which is pretty insane if you ask me. Planning some cool stuff for it. You guys will probably learn more. Should we spoil a little bit, Dom, of what is happening that week?
Maybe.
Or should we keep it quiet?
Nah, don't spoil.
We don't spoil. It's the brew. We don't spoil stuff, guys.
Yeah,
That's the first thing you have to know. It never happens. But yeah, for the Brew 100, we'll probably have some cool stuff going on. Not only that brew, but the week. But that's all I'm going to say. And for this brew number 96, also super exciting brew. We have one of our favorite guests ever. As always, the Econ team. So we have Chris. Chris, how are you, man?
Doing well. Very excited. Putting some of the final touches on the next version of Sage. So yeah, exciting times.
Oh, let's go.
Leak
Nice.
that.
That's how we like to start the brew. That's how
final econ touches, I should say. You know, there's still like all the UI and stuff.
Yeah, it's steady, Chris. Keep it steady. People will announce that it's coming tomorrow if you say that.
Next version of Sage is scheduled for 2026. All right, you heard it here first.
Dude, I love saying that.
And also Gareth. How are you, Gareth?
I'm doing well. Yeah, you caught us at a good time. It's going to be an awesome next few months, and we have a lot to talk about today. So looking forward to it.
Econ Ninja.
Nice. Gareth, the Econ Ninja. That's the nickname. The war nickname that he earned.
it's because Chris is usually in the spotlight. I dabble behind the scenes, so that's the
Oh my
origination of the
God.
nickname, I believe.
Gareth works in the shadows and Chris in the lights. That's how we know each other.
Exactly.
It's like yin and yang. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's a better positive direction.
And when
Gareth
Chris
is
is the light, you see that there's something wrong with this company, guys.
all right. I'm not even gonna make my joke. That was mean. Make my next joke.
Sorry, Chris, I'm just joking.
Man. But yeah, I think Dom, we have a special sponsor for this brew, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, Atlas Brew number 96 is brought to you by StarPath. Get to play.staratlas.com, go to your profile, get your own StarPath link, give it to the grocery store clerk, give it to your 2-year-old sibling, give it to your mom, give it to your grandma. I don't care who you're giving it to, but give it to them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to use StarPath. You get 25% of primary market purchases. That's all I got. Use StarPath.
Yes, you heard it. You heard it here. It's time to shield Starpath. Shield that code to your grandma. That's what we need to do right now. So yeah, thank you Starpath for bringing this brew to life. Another noteworthy news, if now that we are here, is that this lead barge was released yesterday. So it's the biggest freighter ship that we ever released, and I think actually one sold today. Um, that's pretty good.
Congrats to the owner.
Congrats to the owner, definitely, and nice purchase to say the least. Great
Only one
advantage. I think so. I think one in the Atlas pair
Oh,
is what
nice.
was sold. Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Best in class cargo storage. So,
I
yeah.
think I think people need to still experiment around and see what, like, you know, what's good, what's not good. What, like, when we have new ships come out, it's really interesting to kind of see how the meta adjusts, because like with the imps, I don't think we really sold the majority of our volume until probably, I don't know, like a couple months after its release, if I had to guess. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yes, we will see. We will see how well the owner does with his freighting and transporting stuff all across Galaxy expanse.
Yeah, that
But
thing
yeah.
is massive, man. I guess it has 600,000 of cargo. Bro, that's like, I don't know, 20 ohms on a single ship? Something like that.
That's pretty
Crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
That is actually pretty insane. Cool. In other noteworthy news, and something that I don't think maybe we'll talk today here, is that the crafting fee was rebased to 7% in Sage Labs. Sage. Rebased to 7%. So we gave the pre-announcement as always. I know some people complained that we didn't give the announcement right when it went live, when the fee was applied. So we'll make sure to do that next time. But yeah, it's what we do, Chris. You know, people get used to us pre-announcing, and now we also have to announce. So we do pre-announcement, announcement, and maybe we do post-announcement. Then, like in 6 months, we'll have to start doing that. You know how this goes.
Coordinating is tough, like especially in a smaller team, like especially with like the engineering team. It's they're like a river, so like you just kind of put the request in, and then like if the river is flowing fast, then it it passes the finish line when you expected it to. If it's slow, it's behind the finish line. So just kind of we take what our engineering gods will give us.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. We're lucky that they work fast at Star Atlas. So, yeah. When meta announcements, what would that even be? Drew is saying in the chat. I guess we'll have to basically invent one new type of announcement now. But yeah. Continuing here, Atlas and Polis are also now live on Camino, so you can go there and earn some rewards by participating in the by providing liquidity in there as well. Another thing that we wanted to highlight is Siggy's video for combat racing and also the giveaway that he's running. So make
And
sure to
that's
go
fire.
there, take a look at the video. It's all recorded by him, right? Recorded, edited, everything by Siggy. It's super high quality. So felt good to give a shout out here at the Brew and make sure also to make sure that people participate in
I'm
the
streaming
giveaway
it.
that he's running. Yeah, join the stream if you want to take a look.
I like how he added the kind of cinematic camera movements
Yeah,
of the map and the ships before it started.
it's
Man,
super high quality, man. It's not easy to record like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, Jose wouldn't be able to record this race because he will be just dying all the time.
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
if I
yeah.
could
True.
start the ships, that would be a win for me, bro.
Wait, who recorded this?
Siggy,
Iggy.
Oh yeah. I just
yeah.
thought this was one of our trailers. I was like, oh, it's just another trailer, but it's like just regular old gameplay. I
Yeah,
have been like having family and friends reach out to me, like especially when I'm around them. They're like, hey, like, what's that game you work on? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's this, and I'll like put it on. They're like, is this real? I'm like, yeah, no, this is like actual gameplay.
yeah. I'm sure it happens to a lot of people here when they shield Star Atlas as well. It's
Now
wild
my
that this
brother
is
was.
gameplay,
Oh, go
man.
ahead.
Yeah.
I know.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah.
It's what you were
It's
saying.
insane.
Yeah.
I'm super pumped. Is it okay if I'm talking right now? I don't want to like just like
Yes, sir. Yeah,
this is an
yeah, yeah.
amazing video. I'm super pumped. Like you guys have like seen all the news about Pale World and you know the controversy around AI. It goes to show that like 90% of gamers don't care about like oh, it's got blockchain. I hate blockchain. It's like there's like a small minority of very loud players who are constantly shitting on Web3. But, when we release like a polished, finished product to the masses, they're not going to care that it uses blockchain. Like they're just not. There's going to be a small minority that do care. But so I'm super like the release of Pale Worlds really concretized that for me. Made me realize like, oh, you can use the new latest technology, and the people will come. So really, really positive news, I think, for the industry.
Yeah, just make a fun game. That's all it
Yeah.
takes. Fun game that people
Yes.
want to play. I think Web3 is close to getting there, honestly. So
People
Yeah,
just
for
want
sure.
a fun game. That's it.
people just want to have fun. Who would have guessed the gamers want to have fun?
Entertainment.
Oh yeah. So another thing that happened last week, and we were joking because internally it feels like it happened like a month ago, but it was actually last week. Is the Metagravity play testing? So the multiplayer play testing. As you guys know, we reached a peak of 150 people in the same server. I think actually the peak was around 360 or a number close to that. But not everyone was able to join because, of course, it was a test and there were some issues that weren't letting everyone get in there. So just wanted to say thank you to everyone who joined and helped Star Atlas and Metagravity test the multiplayer servers. We took some nice pictures, that's for sure. I think, Dom, we posted some of them on Twitter, right?
Yeah, let me
And
get some of those pictures because yeah, no, they're super nice. First group photo, first big group photo. Gonna post
yeah,
them here.
it's the biggest group photo so far. Yeah.
It was just super nice. It was just a very good experience. I mean, besides the bug, like just seeing everyone in game, hanging out with everyone in game, just really good experience.
I mean,
Super fun.
it's one of the clear examples of why we're here, right? I feel like um, just being able to test things like this and actually getting on a server with 150 people at the same time in a game that 2 years ago we didn't even have the showroom, right? And there are people who have been here for even longer than that, and you can see everything actually becoming a reality in front of your eyes. And there are a few things that make you feel like that, like this example. I think the other one to me was when I first was able to spawn my ships. But this was one of the other big milestones. At least it felt like that to me. Like just being able to get in there and see Dom running around, see Jose, see Danny, see all our friends here in the community. Basically, just having fun and running around. And it was also the first test ever that we did for the multiplayer together with Metagravity, which that means also going into some key learnings that we had as well. But that means that we will have more in the future, and we're planning some cool stuff for the next ones. We're not going to say anything yet, but there will be more tests like this in the future. And we, of course, learned a couple lessons doing this. Mainly, we proved from a technical standpoint, we proved that the tech actually works. So that may seem like a small thing, but it's huge. As some people were saying, for having 150 people and being the first test ever, we actually it was actually running pretty smooth. So that proves that our tech actually works. I know that we learned, of course, that people want to have more things to do in the next one. So we will also have things going on, activities and in advance, and cool stuff probably for people who joined the UE5 testing. Um, and also, it's likely to be shorter than 24 hours, since if we are going to aim for quantity, it makes more sense, right, to have like one or two big events rather than like spread it out in 24 hours, right? Um, so on the server side and everything, pretty good takeaways, and again, just proving that the tech actually works goes a really long way. I know that also a lot of people brought up that it would have been a lot better for you if we do it on a weekend. So I don't know, like I'm curious to see like here in the chat what you guys think. If the next one we should do it on a weekend, like if that will be a lot better or if it's the same. I'm guessing even if we do it on a weekend, there's going to be people who will not be able to join, as always. But yeah, those are some of the takeaways that we had from the playtest. Is there anything that I missed, Dom, Jose?
I think you got it, bro.
I think you nailed it, bro.
Cool, 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 cool. One more thing, I see people chatting in the voice chat. We actually use the one that is called the Atlas Root, that is two chats above. At least that's the one that we read. I think probably we should rename this voice chat to Atlas Brew and just use it for everything, basically. But that's a discussion that we can have, Dominic Bain, later. No need to discuss that right now.
Let's get into the discussion right now. So, what are some pros and
So
cons
should we
here?
change the
The topic,
forget
bro.
forget about the econ. Let's talk about the voice
Yeah,
chat
that's
name.
not. Econ's not too important. Bro, channel name is the real deal.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the player tags was also very important. I know that a lot of people, everyone was joining and saying, "Hey, how can I change my name?" And there was no way. I think so. Yeah. Oh, I see that Kareka missed hit the Never Alone quest. We actually gave that code away during the brew that happened during the testing. So yeah, um, yeah, it was purely the code, but I think it ended now. Make a poll and figure out the major time zone overlaps for players. Yeah, we kind of have an idea when that is, so we'll do that for the next one for sure. But yeah, now I feel like we covered almost everything. I think we covered everything on the noteworthy news side. So I think it's good to now get on the main topic, which is the economics of Star Atlas. And for that, we already introduced them, but we have Chris and we have Gareth today with us, and we will be covering some stuff that has been happening in the econ side of things, which actually it's a lot because you guys last month actually released the quarterly report, so the last report for 2023, and we never covered it in the brew, so we will cover it today, at least briefly. But right after that, you guys made changes to how the econ works overall, like pretty huge changes, making this transition from this quote unquote transition from the Atlas earnings from Score to Sage Labs. So we'll be talking about all that. But I feel like first we can start with the with what we released before the break and catch up to that, which is the economic report. So it was the first report after some um, significant economic changes, since I think the main thing probably for the economics was the introduction of Sage Labs. So how did that affect the creation of the economic report, Chris and Gareth? I don't know who wants to take it, but did that make the creating the report more challenging, more entertaining? What are your takeaways?
I can take this one, Chris. Believe it or not, it actually the more we have in terms of economic functionality in our game, the easier it is to actually create the report. I'm sure those of you that have followed the report from its origination, not sure how many we're at now, but since the first one, you've probably noticed that some of them have explored, um, more advanced, realistic topics that are present, such as business cycles that apply to our real world economies and do apply in Star Atlas as well. But a lot of the reason behind exploring those topics was because, of the economic state of the game being as unsophisticated as it was at the time. Now that we have things, like faction specific labor force specialization, um, excuse me, commodity markets that are fluctuating with broader markets and our own internal markets, like just really interesting stuff happening in the game now that's relevant to economics, allows us to have a much better time creating these reports, and hopefully has allowed us to make them more entertaining for you guys. To those of you that have managed to read it, I know we dropped it and then just left for 2 weeks, so thank you to those that read it. And yeah, just to answer the question, it was definitely much more fun and I think much more rewarding to readers to see, what's actually going on in the game. How are my actions reflected in the broader economy, and most importantly, what's my faction ranking against the others?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It gives you a lot more data to work with, as you were saying. Like it's probably a lot more interesting for you guys, like to see how everything plays out, to see it alive, as we were saying, like the playtests.
Yeah, yeah, super well said, Gareth. I like. There's kind of an academic analogy to this, where like regular economists have to work their asses off to produce good academic writing because we have limited data. So there's not a lot of super granular data that contains a lot of characteristics for an individual if you're studying the labor force, or for a country if you're studying trade economics. Although trade economics is a little bit different, but all that to say, the analogy here is, there's a really famous economist at the academic world named Raj Chetty, and he's kind of this golden child, because not golden child, but like this golden he's in a very unique position because he owns a lot of extremely sensitive census data that nobody else in the world has access to. So he's able to write a paper that's literally just descriptive. It'll literally be like, this is what, everyone's debt holdings look like. And he'll be able to get that published in a super high ranked journal because it's such valuable information, and he's not doing anything super sophisticated. So we have something very similar going on here, where all of a sudden we've got so much interesting data, so much interesting, happenings in the Star Atlas ecosystem, that all we have to do, and in the case of the report, all Gareth has to do is just basically report the facts, and it's extremely engaging, extremely fun to look at. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I do want to give kudos to Gareth for this report. I think the second to last report, so Q3, we worked on a little bit more closely together. It was probably 75 Gareth, 25 me, and most of the 25 was just like actually writing the report. This time, I would argue, other than planning, it was like 99% Gareth, 1% me. So he's done an incredible job at taking over the reports since our restructuring last year, and in my opinion, writing two of the probably the most interesting reports. Now, some of that can be attributed to the fact that the game is more interesting, but yeah, he's done an incredible job. So just wanted to shout him out.
Shout out to
Appreciate
the
that,
Econ
Chris.
Ninja.
Shout out to the ninja. Yes, sir. Okay, Gareth, I have a question for you now about specifically actually the report. Can you run us through maybe the key highlights and offer any insight you have on the key highlights? I'm
Yeah,
actually streaming
definitely.
it, by the way. So.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I have it
Everyone
pulled up as well. So this is great. All right. So the first one we have, the top of the third page, I believe it is, of key highlights, we see daily score participation shifted above the mean trend for the first time since the start of its decline in 2021. Now, what that means is we've seen a, by no means sharp, but a steady decline of score participation since 2021. Now that decline happened in sort of a flow. There was a lot of seasonality to it on the daily. We had people coming in, refilling their ships, claiming their Atlas, going to bed, our less active players participating, and then spiked up again. Unfortunately, every time it spiked up again on the day, it would be less than the day before. So we observed this trend, and what we saw this quarter was that trend has actually shifted. Now we're seeing higher activity on our peaks and higher activity on our troughs. So all that means is we're now getting higher highs and higher lows in our participation. So that was super cool. That's attributed a lot to the increase in Atlas yield from ships. Obviously, everybody I'm here sure knows that Atlas took a pretty big run last quarter, and that was reflected in the demand to participate in score. Our second key highlight here is that the Oni and Ooster factions waited for strong Atlas USDC price action to re-enter score, while the Mud faction consistently re-entered over time. Now, what this means is when we broke this out by faction, we saw that relative to Atlas's increase in price, Oni and Ooster were relatively reserved in their willingness to re-enter score, and were much more, I wouldn't say engaged than Mud, but much more active in labs as a result of that. While Mud, given their higher wealth and their larger fleet inventory as a faction, they've steadily added ships back to score throughout the run-up of Atlas, and even slightly before Atlas started running. So all that to say that there's very distinct behavioral patterns there. Arguably, Mud being the most risk tolerant, while there's probably another analysis to do there. Oni and Ooster are much more reserved in putting their assets somewhere that was uncertain at the time if that yield would increase or not, and especially as much as it did. Third point here, we have aggregate census wealth grew by 302%. Obviously the increase in token price dramatically impacted that. I believe our non-resident currency grew the most in its change in wealth. And then we also saw ship prices take a bit of a swing up as well. And that overall, including all of our assets, resulted in that 302% increase on average. So a great quarter for the Star Atlas community as a whole in terms of their valuation, their wealth valuation there. And we get more into that later in the report, but we'll move on here. Sage Labs supported 1,500 daily active wallets on average throughout the quarter. Pretty self-explanatory there. This was on average for daily active wallets. So obviously some points we saw greater, some points we saw less of that per day, but on average 1,550 daily active wallets. Surpluses of golden tickets produced by Ooster and Oni found a market in the Mud faction, leading to a substantial wealth exchange. Now, this is one of our most interesting findings of the report, in my opinion, and I think Chris shares this opinion as well. But we saw an incredible difference between the production between factions of golden tickets. And in our case here, we see that Ooster and Oni actually produced a massive surplus throughout the period. I believe Ooster produced the biggest surplus, and Mud actually produced a deficit, which meant that all of Mud's contributions to the raffles, all of their ticket purchases, / ticket acquisition, had to come from another faction, in this case, Oni and Ooster. And this is what we've stated this in previous reports, but Mud being the wealthiest faction, that enables them to make lazier decisions, which just means that they don't have to produce all their resources. They can leverage that wealth as a whole to make purchases off the marketplace if they so choose, and that's just a massive benefit to the Ooster and Oni factions. And over time, we're going to see this wealth flow in and out. Obviously, there are outside forces that play into the wealth of a faction at the moment. For example, USDC inflow or on-ramping into Atlas that gets transitioned into our marketplace. But in terms of wealth quality, that will hopefully trend to a more equal state over time as a result of these really impressive economic decisions from the factions to leverage that wealth opportunity, that wealth growing opportunity. And lastly, here we have food, fuel, ammunition, and toolkits, along with survey data units, showed incredible strength in their USDC valuation throughout the quarter. Now, there's a lot of back and forth, I know, in the community, and even somewhat internally about the prices of our commodity market. We highlight here food, fuel, ammunition, and toolkits and survey data units because despite their decrease in price in Atlas, their USDC price stayed relatively the same. And all this means is that as Atlas increased in price, the purchasing power of one Atlas increased, which resulted in someone willing to spend less Atlas on, for example, one food unit, because obviously one Atlas is now worth more. So with people willing to spend less quantity of Atlas on the food, that just means its USDC valuation is remaining the same relative to its increase in Atlas price, and therefore we see a flat USDC value line, or even in some cases increasing, and a decreasing price in Atlas because that Atlas buying power has increased.
Dude, thank you for going through all those. I don't know how many people I speak for here, but I'll speak for myself when I say it really helps for someone to walk through all these different things and what it actually means, why it's important, stuff like that. So appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, to me, the biggest takeaway here is to see how much this peer-to-peer economy is growing, and also how many different variables we can see now, just relating in between all our products, because you see different things that affected the overall economy, like Atlas going up, and actually Oni and Ustur factions moving back to score, for example. That's one thing. Then you have the mods buying the tickets from the Usturs and Onis, and that's all peer-to-peer economy generated inside our own ecosystem, which is insane if you think about it. And I always like to go to the past. But if you look just a few months back, like we didn't have this much complexity in Star Atlas. Um,
No,
so
I
at
mean,
least
think about like
from the highlights, yeah.
remember when we introduced, or the like so-called liberalization of the R4 economy. Like that felt like a really big deal. And think about how simple that was. Like stake a claim stake and, or sorry, lock, yeah. Anyway, put a claim stake in faction claims, and you get your R4, and then like you can sell it to other people. It's just like this really simple, very few decisions to make. Like the fact we're really hitting our like exponential growth you know stage in the economy. It's just really incredible to see just the different labor decisions that are being made, and the information that's revealed to us as the economists when we see a specific thing lagging or lacking in the marketplace. That tells us a lot. um, yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah, and this is actually like a perfect segue into the question that we have for you here, which is like Sage Labs, Sage introduced a lot of complexity to the economy, right? So how did that equip the economic team with the tools to actually create a sustainable and real economy?
I'll take this one, Gareth, if that's okay. So
Go ahead.
it's it's been really interesting to see a market open up that we have a lot more control over. Right, like in Score, it was hard to do. We didn't have a whole lot of like levers or power to change to help bolster the market for ships or the market for R4 even. Um, uh, you know, we definitely don't have as powerful of tools to impact the market for Atlas, right? Like my belief right now at this stage is the best thing that we can do for Atlas is just perform well and create a good game and create a healthy ecosystem. I think like I don't know how well Atlas performed relative to other gaming tokens during the last run up, but I imagine it outperformed some. And I like to think that a large part of that is because the project itself is of better quality, and the economy is becoming more and more rich and more stable. Um, but all that said, you look at the commodity markets in Sage, um, and those markets have been performing extremely well, in my opinion. I mean, you look at the volume that we're doing on a daily basis is really really impressive. I believe it is greater than the volume done on Axie's secondary market, but that's basically I wouldn't quote that because I don't know if the data from Axie is easily accessible. But we're doing an incredible amount of volume. There's a lot of trade, and the prices are strong in Atlas and USDC. And what that tells me is that we have a lot more power to kind of impact those markets. And the cool thing is we haven't had to do a whole lot, especially since we released RFRs. Like, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't made any economic changes since RFRs released. I mean, we obviously updated the Atlas fees, and then we, of course, removed the 6% Atlas, marketplace fee. But that was that was more of a technical issue. So, yeah, it's been really cool to see just the level of control that we have over the economy, to make sure that things are healthy, and we have a awesome set of tools to help with that, so that eventually, we can transfer over some of that power to the DAO, and those can be all of a sudden, be more of a council making these decisions, kind of like the Federal Reserve. But yeah, that's my experience. I don't know, Gareth, if you have anything else to add.
No, yeah, you hit the nail on the head really, with everything you stated. So, yeah, it's just
Yes.
been.
No, sorry.
Go ahead, Jose.
No, 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 go on. I was going to ask the next question.
Well, anything I could say, Chris already said better. So let's move on to the next question. I don't want to take too much time.
Don't worry, friend. Lately, we introduced our first in-game Atlas emission with Council's RFRs. And this was a huge decision. What went into the decision of implementing them? and how they are doing? Like, do you have cool data on them already? How do you feel about their impacts in the economy so far?
Yeah, probably also a good question for me to answer. The thought process into putting them in was rather straightforward. Like we kind of we the Golden Ticket Carnival, that program was expiring, and that was our main kind of sink for resources and all in-game assets. So we needed to replace that with something. And there were a couple of different ideas that we pushed around. One of them was to replace the raffles with basically just only Atlas, and then that would effectively be our Atlas emissions. So instead of being able to win, a Fimble air bike, you'd be able to win 100 Atlas or something like that. That had a bunch of issues. First of all, it felt weird to have Atlas emissions outside of the ecosystem. Second of all, like we really want Atlas to be, we want everybody to be able to earn Atlas. We want everyone to feel like if they have ships, then they have the ability to earn Atlas through productive means. So that idea ultimately did not end up panning out. So what we did was we said, okay, well, let's make a crafting recipe that delivers the player to Atlas. And so kind of interestingly, I guess like fortunately and unfortunately, it was really difficult for us to actually create an Atlas recipe because Atlas is a cryptocurrency. It's not an SFT. So from a technological point of view, we actually couldn't insert Atlas into the crafting recipes without a ton of work. And obviously we didn't have a lot of time. We had literally a week or two to get this developed. The econ team had been thinking about this for a long time, but the engineering team, obviously, they were once we decided what we wanted to do, they had about 2 weeks to get it implemented. So what we ultimately went with, and I think this was probably Michael's brainchild, was like, well, we can give them a certificate that they craft in game that's an SFT, and then we'll just buy it off them in the marketplace for Atlas, and we'll fund that Atlas with the Atlas emissions curve. So the idea was all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, actually, you'll go to the marketplace and you'll sell this into the marketplace, and you'll be able to get Atlas for it. That has a bunch of interesting consequences that we honestly, I think, are probably better than just having the Atlas emissions directly in Sage. So first of all, it makes people have to engage with the marketplace. It also makes people kind of it breaks up the gameplay loop a little bit. It adds a layer to the game complexity. I also just think from a lore perspective, it kind of makes a lot of sense. Like, hey, go take this, go take this thing and turn it in for a reward, as opposed to I'm just crafting money, which is a little odd. And ultimately, with the next update of Sage, we'll have the LP system, which will be the way that we distribute Atlas. So this was a pretty simple way to do the whole thing. It was like very low technical lift, made a lot of sense from a lore perspective, and was relatively safe from the econ lens because, as you all know, every RFR requires one SDU, and SDUs are obviously gated. Each period, each minute, only 1,500 SDUs can ever possibly exist. So we essentially create a theoretical limit to the number of RFRs that can be created in a single day. So that was it was like, okay, Atlas emissions might run a little bit high compared to previous 6 months, for example, which were really low, historically low, because we had so many ships moving from Score to Sage. We said, okay, this is also us introducing Atlas emissions into Sage. We don't want to threaten, the supply of Atlas. So what do we have to do? And something we've been thinking about for, as long as I've been here, we've been thinking about this for a year and how we would do it. We said, okay, well, we need to reduce score because first of all, we want people to move to Sage. That is the ultimate goal. And second of all, we need to help curb the increase in the emissions rate. So we also decided to couple this change with a reduction in score. of 33%. So yeah, a lot of really interesting things. Oh, one last little tidbit to give you kind of a look behind the scenes. The way that I calculate crafting recipes is it's done with algorithmically. So I just punch in a couple of stats for the item, and the whole entire crafting recipe is spit out. So the crafting recipe can be as complicated and and deep as possible, arbitrarily complex and arbitrarily deep, and it will still spit out, in like a fraction of a second, it'll spit out the recipe, which is really nice for us because it basically it keeps things balanced, but it also makes our jobs easier. Now, you all know the SDU market is kind of it has always been the constraint on the on the Sage ecosystem, and this was intentional. Obviously, we didn't want just like uncapped ship emissions. When we were doing the redemptions in Sage, we wanted to have some sort of control over that, and so we had to hard cap SDUs. Now, what did this do? This ended up throwing the emission of R9 and the emission of SDUs kind of out of whack. They weren't balanced necessarily. So it caused kind of an imbalance in the SDU market relative to R9 markets, or I guess other markets. And so the composition of a lot of those redemption recipes ended up being 50% of the cost was SDUs and 50% of the cost was other stuff. And at certain times it was greater than that. So I wanted to avoid this. And so what I did do with the RFR was I said, okay, I basically created the recipe by hand to make sure that the SDU market would be more closely aligned with the other markets, the other commodity markets. So that's why the SDU is actually disproportionately fewer. There are disproportionately fewer SDUs required in the RFR recipe than there are in other recipes like the redemptions that you guys saw. So there's only one SDU per RFR, and that's kind of an elegant recipe in and of itself. But it also is, hand selected to try to balance the economy a little bit better. And I'm really happy with the price action that we've seen over the last month since we made the change. I think we've seen pretty much in all assets except for Crystal Lattice and maybe a few others, we've seen price increases. And that's why we followed it up with the 7% rebase yesterday. I don't know if I answered the second part of that question.
I think you did. I think you did.
You did.
Yeah.
What was the second part of that question?
It
If
was.
I did, I don't remember answering.
It was how the console RFRs are doing, but I think you definitely covered that.
I mean, real quick to comment on like the quantities and how many are being produced. We had like disproportionately low emissions for a while because we hadn't activated the or deactivated the Atlas fee in the marketplace for like, so if you tried to go and sell this, you get charged a 6% fee. So your 2 Atlas turns into 1.96 Atlas. So right. Is that right? No, it was like 1.8. Anyway, some amount minus 6%. So what we did see was kind of an unfortunate thing where like people were hoarding them, holding on to them, and then once we did put that change through, we saw a huge influx of orders go through. But we're kind of back to neutral now in terms of outstanding RFRs. But we had a big glut of RFRs, and in fact, Gareth, do you happen to have our like internal report up? I'm trying to load it. If you've got it like on your screen, just.
I do. Yeah. Let me just load the page.
Actually, we were having some server issues earlier, so it's possible those are persisting. But we basically one of the metrics we keep track of is like number of RFRs outstanding relative to number of let's see, number of yeah, this would be good. Let me just share my screen real quick. We've been having a little bit of issues with our data, like everything from like Solana fees to like our data. Why is it still? That's
Static. Show the alpha.
Well, I just don't think. I'm gonna have to share screenshots.
That's fine.
I'm gonna have to share screenshots. Sorry. But I'll share some screenshots. But anyway, one of the metrics we keep track of is how many tickets are outstanding, or sorry, how many RFRs are outstanding relative to like what has been redeemed. Let me just send this in the chat real quick.
People
anyway,
are saying
what we saw was
you're free to screen share the internal report if you want.
Yeah. I know. I was sharing. I was like, oh Jesus. I mean, there's nothing sensitive in it, but it's like probably best practice not to. But okay, so you can see there
right now in the Atlas Brew chat, by the way. For
okay,
listening.
cool. So yeah. So in the Atlas Brew chat, you can see like this chart, and that is score emissions stacked on top of Sage emissions. So this is a stacked chart, and you can see on our peak day we hit like 8 million emissions total. And in just Sage alone, we peaked over 5 million, which is more than the theoretical max that could be produced in a single day. But it's because there was a huge glut of outstanding RFRs, and you can see that in the lower figure. You can see outstanding RFRs. So we hit a max of 6 million outstanding RFRs on around January 10th or 9th. And so what that meant was like there were 20 million Atlas just sitting in people's accounts because they weren't going to buy it. And then you can see that big drop off on the graph. You can see that huge drop off right before January 14th. And that's where we deactivated the fee. All of a sudden, we're kind of back into that neutral zone, about 1 million or RFRs, or the equivalent of 2 million Atlas sitting in people's accounts. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Like, feeling pretty good about the emissions rate of Atlas. We expected it to be around 4 to 5 million a day, and that's kind of our goal is to hit that. That's where we were on average in score before Sage came out anyway. So yeah, that's the current state of things. Gareth, any data stuff that you have that you think you could add?
You sent both of the you sent both of the main charts. RFRs have just been, really successful, in my opinion. I mean, the top chart Chris sent, where you see the stacked area chart of RFRs, of Atlas emissions in both Score and Sage. You can see a slight increase, but you also see a large offset of Score emissions going into RFR production. So there's a clear population that was excited for Atlas emissions in Sage and wanted to get their ships out of Score and earning Atlas through activity. So you can see that here. Obviously, it still increased by a fraction, and that's just because some people kept their ships in Score while we had a large influx of Atlas emissions in Sage. But yeah, it's been super cool to see. On the bigger days where we see larger redemptions, we don't see a huge implication on price in USDC, and that can be argued given that some people hold for days or weeks before making a decision to sell, and we've yet to do analysis on that. But people want to earn Atlas, and in the history of Star Atlas and from now to the future, it's definitely the best time to be maximizing your Atlas holdings. So that's all I'll say on that.
Yep. And there's a question, I don't know if you guys can answer, to tell me you can't. But there's a question in the community that asks, how long will the RFR program last?
The RFR program will last until LP is in the game. So until the ultimate Sage Atlas emissions program is enabled, we'll keep RFRs. Yeah, and to give maybe a little bit more alpha, the idea is when that next update comes, we'll likely do another reduction in score.
Ooh. And LP is the loyalty points, correct?
Yes, LP is contrary to crypto terminology, stands for loyalty points, not liquidity pool. So those will be earned in game, and you'll earn those from doing faction specific actions. So if you're upgrading star bases, if you're upkeeping your star base when combat is released, if you're defending your star base, if you're doing any of these faction specific actions, which are right now most of the actions are faction specific, you're going to earn LP. So almost everything in the game is going to earn you LP. And from that LP, you're going to basically be able to commit it to like an epoch level Atlas emission. So whatever that epoch is, it'll probably be a day. You're going to contribute your LP, however much LP you would like to contribute. LP is an account specific stat. It's not a tradable commodity. It's an LP specific stat. So you can basically say, I want to commit, 1,000 LP and keep 500. This is all like known information, so no alpha here. But there's ultimately going to be an LP store, and you'll be able to use your LP to get kind of exclusive items and stuff like that. So you can keep some of your LP maybe for the future, or you can commit it to the Atlas emissions for that epoch. Importantly, there's going to be a limited amount of Atlas. So there's going to be a kind of an Atlas pie, and then you get a contribution of that Atlas based on your LP contributions for that day. So if you contributed 100% of the LP for that day, then you're going to get 100% of the Atlas for that day. So it'll work essentially the same way that it works now. The only difference is we have much more control as the economics team in terms of like what is the actual rate of emission in Atlas, and we have we have internal targets that we want to hit for emissions rates, and so it's a really nice system because it really encourages not only faction competition but competition within the faction to try and produce more LP. And then there's even some strategic considerations on, do I contribute LP? Do I not contribute LP? And then, of course, there are going to be people who say, fuck the LP system. I'm just going to go produce materials and sell it into the marketplace and get the, you got the Ooster Oni mud relationship there. So really excited about that.
Yeah, it just makes everything more interesting. And I feel like every single reason that we have also makes the economy more complex, right? So that is pretty nice.
Yeah.
That is pretty nice. Probably gets Gareth excited with the econ reports. More data to gather, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've got an exciting because with this update, our entire data pipeline is going to change because we're going to be updating old programs and we're going to be adding new programs. So we got a lot of ton of work ahead of us once this update goes out.
Yeah, I can see that. So we are 2 minutes away from closing here. So if there are any questions for Chris and Gareth here, please post them in the Atlas Brew chat and we can read them or just ask them here out loud. But Chris, as always, Gareth, if you come up with, if you see any questions that you would like to answer, please feel free to answer them. I will be reading them as well, but also if you can't answer any of the ones that we read, feel free to say that you can't. I see some people typing, so I will give 5 to 10 more seconds to see if there are any questions coming your way. If not, we will close this brew. When more craftable ships? That's a question that they have. I don't know if you get. That's definitely one that you can't answer.
Gareth, you answer that question.
Well, we can say, we have thought about it. It is on our radar. It's definitely something that will happen eventually. Definitely not soon, at least to my understanding. It'll be probably the biggest day in Star Atlas history when ship crafting comes online. But right now, the last thing I'll say is how we define ships are essentially how we define, you know, a manufacturing plant in the real world. Like a lot of labor had to go into creating these ships, you know, in the form of designers, engineers, um, the whole 9 yards, right? So as soon as we allow people to create them in game, the value to create ships plummets, right? Unless we make it extremely difficult. So yeah, it's definitely a problem that we have a few solutions to, but aren't actively pursuing as a feature in the near term.
Nice.
Okay.
And if
Yeah, good
the
answer.
question is, are we gonna if the question is, are we gonna do more ship redemptions? My hard preference is to not. I can't imagine at our current stage of development. I can't imagine a scenario where we would need to do that. Again, redemptions and the Golden Carnival were like very much temporary solutions to a current problem, and we have permanent solutions to that problem. So I just don't really see us ever doing that again. Again, emphasizing like the importance and value of being an early member of this community, right? The Star Atlas economy is only going to get more strict, more harsh, and more competitive from here on out as we grow our player base.
Nice. Nice.
So,
yeah. So someone asked, will there be any material benefit from the construction of Starbase, keeping in mind that they will be released before PvP? The benefit will be contributing to basically earning loyalty points, correct?
Yes, there is another benefit in that. So obviously, like Starbases, low-level Starbases cannot commit all of the different crafting recipes. So, like, if you're a tier 1 Starbase, you can, at least the current. I don't know these. I won't say any exact specifics, but like you can only craft a specific set um, of of recipes at the Starbase. So you have to level it up in order to get access to better recipes. So if you're doing your crafting in like MRZ5 or something like that, you need to upgrade that Starbase to be able to do those crafts. So it'll be really interesting to see how that dynamic plays. And then obviously, like in future iterations, like the player or like the person who made that comment mentioned, there will be much more kind of combat, more material uses of upgrading.
Cool. I don't see any other directly related questions to the econ team. Here's one maybe. When Starbase comes out, will Labs still be viable? I don't know if you guys know that one.
Yeah. So Labs is just it's like a front end client that you can interact with Sage with. We also have the Play Canvas UI that you can interact with. So those are just basically like, you can think of those as surface area, like those are the keyboard that allows you to interact with the computer. The computer being Sage. So Sage, we're going to keep upgrading and updating, and it might end up using different like IDs and stuff. Maybe there will be different program IDs, all this different stuff, but all of the functions, all the logic is going to stay the same. So we will, when we do Starbase upgrading, it'll probably still be through the Labs client. So you'll still interact with the like updated version of Sage with the Labs client. That'd be my guess. But that's more of a technical question.
Yeah. Cool, guys. We are more than 5 minutes, close to 5 minutes, sorry, over the hour. So I'll be respectful of everyone's time here and cut it right now. But I appreciate you, Chris and Gareth, joining the brew. I think it was nice as always to basically catch up to what has been going on in this stratless economy. And it's been only a month, but there were some major changes and it had some impact in the economy. So it's always good to catch up regularly with the community about what has been going on in the economic side of things, and maybe get some sneak peeks into what you guys are thinking for the future. So I appreciate you guys joining us always.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure.
Freaking
Yeah, thanks,
legends.
guys. Enjoyed it.
Appreciate
Always a
you guys
pleasure, guys.
joining.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, thank you for joining us always. We'll have the brew number 97 next week. Probably going to be some freestyle and community updates. So if you're building anything that you would like to share with the community, for the community to see and then just share overall, let us know. Send me a DM or Dom a DM. I will try to get you a slot in the next brew. But other than that, thank you everyone for joining the brew number 96, and see you on the next one next Wednesday, same place, same time. Bye bye.
Ciao. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
All right, for the people who are staying for the roadmap update, if you don't know, I've been working on getting a public roadmap out to you guys to be more public facing, so not only you guys can know what we're doing and like the at least the order of what we're doing it at and have a general idea of what's coming, but also for other people to have an idea of what we're doing. We see some comments every now and then. Star Atlas turned into a racing game, things like that. And obviously we haven't. Of course we haven't. So yeah, working on a roadmap to go on our website. We have it all outlined, but we're actually waiting on a pretty big update to happen before we publish the roadmap. So I don't think the roadmap will come out until late February or like first week of March. So just letting you guys know, it'll probably be at least another month. Just for the people who have been anticipating that and waiting for that. So, but I know it's very needed. I know everyone wants it. I want it. So. I can stay here if anyone has a question about it or anything.
When, bro?
Freaking win, bro. I just said that, man.
No. When, Moon?
Uh,
Don't answer, bro. Don't go to jail.
Dude, I was about to say something. This means roadmap not until April. No, I promise. I will do everything in my power to have it before April. I promise. Love you too, Carlos. I am Oni, unfortunately. I can take a look and give you a hand.
What do you
I'll
mean,
send it to you.
unfortunately, bro?
Bro, what kind of answer is that, Dominic?
Wait, what?
Why you said
What did I?
unfortunately?
I
have
am
no idea.
Oni,
I just,
unfortunately, bro. What?
Yeah.
dude, I think that just came out of my head, bro. I don't even know why.
Bro,
Love you, but just
sneaky.
use the PAX experience. No, I totally understand why you would say that. But I definitely want it in March. Like, the roadmap is so important. It's so important. There's so many people who honestly have no idea what we're building and the amount of stuff that we're building. So I don't. I want someone to be able to say something like, yeah, Star Atlas is a racing game now, and then someone else like in the community link them the roadmap and be like, no, they're working on all this stuff. I also just want people to have that information easily accessible because people should be able to know what we're building. It shouldn't be like this secret. I think one of the biggest attraction points of Star Atlas is the ambition that we have and the things that we want to build. So why wouldn't we have a roadmap kind of more publicized and so. Any news of team putting new ships on the primary market? For example, are we to expect the nearish on primary from the team? So far, it was only from raffle and bonus from Rayfam. I haven't heard anything about the nearish specifically, but I know we're talking about how we release ships and which ones leading up to our 2.2. But I, of course, can't talk about which ones or anything like that. We'll see.
Steady, bro.
Bro, I'm being steady, bro. I'm a steady. Okay, anything else before I leave? Dude, I want the Opal Shark so bad. You have no idea. You have no idea how bad I want the Opal Shark. Santi, what's your favorite ship?
I actually changed my mind, bro. It's no longer the Tooth of Feist.
Wow, really? What is it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think right now I stay with the Ark. It has more
Okay.
use cases, bro. It has more use cases than
So
the
you're
Tooth
more
of
of like
Feist.
a. So you'd say you're more like a utility. You favor the more of the utility over like the kind of look and aesthetic of the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like in UE, the Opal Jet is so sick to use. Um, that's one that before UE, like I wasn't paying enough attention to, I think.
Uh-huh.
But the jet, like just flying it, is satisfying to me. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, the Scud is pretty cool too, Ziggy. What's so good about the Shark? Honestly, my honest answer here is I just think it's the coolest ship, the coolest looking ship of all of them. I'm not even gonna lie,
Fair enough.
it is so surface level. It's insanity. Like I literally saw it and I fell in love, bro. I saw the Opal Shark and it was just like, where have you been all my life, you know? I think I can't share any pics because I don't want to leak anything. But I know there are some people here who know who leaked it, who can probably show or put it in the chat, but I will not be the one to do that.
Yeah, you don't leak it, but point towards the leak. No damage.
Yeah. I'm not a leaker. I just point towards the leak, bro.
Yeah, you didn't do anything.
Mamba X is super cool. Yeah, I agree. Actually, Mamba X is really cool. The Fimbo Mamba, dude, that ship is so underrated. I feel like I like. I can't wait until these game modes start coming online, multiplayer starts coming online, and then people see other people's ships, and then they see like how cool a ship looks, and then that becomes like another defining factor of why people get a ship. Because right now I feel like it's just utility. How efficient is it with like certain stats and stuff like that? But I
True.
can't wait until we get to the point of just like this ship looks fucking cool. I'm gonna get this ship because that's kind of how I am right now with the shark. The new Capital Freight is now my favorite. Why is it your favorite? Just curious. Is it the look, the utility? Dude, yeah, Mr. T, seeing these big ships in the showroom. If you guys haven't seen a big ship in the showroom, it is pretty crazy. I think there's been a couple videos that have been put out of like a Titan ship in the showroom. Dude, it's like literally the size of the showroom itself, like the whole like land mass of the showroom. It's like insane. Thripid, dude. The Thripid was actually fun fact. When I first got into Starless in 2021, the Thripid was my favorite ship by far. Yeah, I thought it was so unique and cool. So cool. I like big freight vehicles. They smell of money. Okay, you know what? I respect that, bro. Everyone has their own motivations. Any update on skin, modules, components, crafting? That's more of a Danny question. I don't want to pre-leak anything that he hasn't talked about, but I mean, I'm very excited for like the skin crafting in particular. I'm sure some people have heard me talk about that ad nauseum, especially in the Navigating Star Atlas episode that we did on our YouTube channel with our character art director Hano. Like being able to craft your own skin and like how it looks, the colors. Honestly, like the amount of customization that you can do on something like, for example, like a helmet and just everything else on your like character, and then you just having the ability to sell that, like that to me is crazy. That to me is so crazy. because like you're gonna need materials to create colors, and what if there's like a color that like is really rare and you like only you know how to get it or something like that. Like I think of like I always go back to like emerald or like gold. Like what if the only way to get gold was by winning like a officially sanctioned Star Atlas tournament, and then you create a gold skin and then you sell it. Like that's really cool to me. That kind of stuff is really cool to me. So I can't wait for the skin crafting. I'll definitely be buying people's skins for sure. Leak the crew member drop? What do you want? What do you mean? You want me to leak it right now? December 2027. The crafting fee got updated to 7%. Anyone know what it was before? It was just a rebase. So like, you know how the Atlas gets rebased in the Galactic Marketplace? Like the listings when the Atlas price has volatility, it's like similar to that. Can we get Danny back on here? Are you talking about in an Atlas Brew or in Navigating Star Atlas episode? Yeah, I don't think Danny's ever been on an Atlas Brew actually. Has he ever been on an Atlas Brew, Santi? I don't know if Santi's still here. I don't think he is. Danny Floyd. I would love to get Danny on an Atlas Brew. Still can't access the skins and character menu. Will that be fixed before the next big release? Are you talking about like how you click the like what is it called? I think it's inventory. The inventory button and then it has like a memory error. Yeah, they know about that. I reported that bug. So should be fixed before the next big release, yeah. Um There is a recording of the brew, by the way, buddy. Yeah, it doesn't work. It freezes the whole showroom. Yeah, I think it you need like a really good computer to actually load the inventory. Now, obviously that's not going to work. I just want a miner ship with guns on it. What do you mean? Oh, you have a 3070 and it still does it? What the hell? Any more alpha? I don't know. I'm just answering questions right now. Maybe. Oh, you want a miner ship with guns. Okay, I see what you're saying. I don't know why I thought you were saying like an extra small ship with guns. Siggy, you out of here? See you, man. Appreciate you coming, dude. Thank you for everything that you do. Dude, I thought it was how good your computer was, but if Tenet has a 4090 and you have a 3060 and it's still happening, then that's interesting. I guess it's something else. Oh, there's the leak. Yeah, there it is. From McMahon. I mean, just look at the Opal Shark. Tell me that's not your favorite ship of all time. I'll call you a liar. Gladiator, what's up, dude? It's not my favorite in this picture. What's your favorite in this picture? Is it? I think the MR8 is also really cool, but I'm not rich. I can't get something like that. What's the Calico ship it? I think that's a freighting ship, if I'm not incorrect. Yeah. The Moran doesn't look like a capital fighter. Is it a capital fighter? I'd have to look. A waste clearance vessel? Win Busan Racer? Dude. Have we ever... I don't know if we've posted outside of the Foundation Room. Anyone know if we've posted the Busan Pulse outside of Foundation Room? I don't think we have, right? I'll show it. The heck is the chat? Oh, there it is. I just put it in the chat. You can see the sizes of the ships if you go to the Gao brochure. It's on starless.com. Win Busan Data Runner, Visas Freighter, Visas Missile Ship. Honestly, I don't know. Okay, anything else? Any other burning questions? Concerns? I'll give you an honest answer. On a side note, I've been watching a lot of Beyond the Horizon lately. His videos keep getting better and better. I really like the vibe of his videos too. If our spaceship gets destroyed, do we get blueprints for it to recraft it? I'm gonna preface this with probably needs to be a lot of work done, and things will probably change for the high risk zone. Like the high risk zone is gonna be a crazy time, and that's gonna need to be absolutely perfect with the way it's released, because there's people's big ships on the line. So I think, but if I had to guess, I would think that you would need to specialize in crafting and you find blueprints. Like, so when like a ship, like let's say Triero gets destroyed in the high risk zone, then I think we've talked about before it being one Triero opens up for crafting. And then you would need to find the blueprint somewhere. But I do not quote me on that. Do not quote me on that. It could definitely change, and it probably already has changed. I just haven't really thought about that in a while.